So I'm back. So I know I'm late to the whole topic of these two cases. I know every YouTuber, everybody then commented on this. Everybody then gave their opinion on these two cases. And that's why I wanted to wait until kind of the dust started to settle down and until the cases was over and the verdicts was in until I gave my opinion. That way I can make sure that I'm giving the right opinion and my full opinion because my opinion actually have changed. Um, the Carmelo case, my opinion didn't change. It was kind of more confirmation of what I believed from the beginning. But the Rick Child case, after watching parts of the trial, the final arguments. Then there was the interview with Rick Child lawyer with Anton Daniels. Shout out to him, Detroit. Um, After hearing all the information and getting all the evidence and basically getting everything, now I'm able to actually give my opinion and break down how I feel about it, basically. So basically, I'm doing this at the end, taking you. I researched both cases. Trust me, I knew about them since the beginning. So what I'm about to say is going to take everything into consideration. Given there's still some things that's not 100% sure, because I know there's some things, like with Carmelo, some people saying that he had a public defender, then they saying that he didn't have a public defender. I've been hearing kind of back and forth about that. Then I know Metcalf dad said that Carmelo family didn't even show up to his verdict, but I've been hearing back and forth because the parents said that they was there. So some things is kind of back and forth, but for the most part, we know about these cases. So let me get into it. Who I want to start with first? Um, I don't know if I want to make y'all mad or what. Either way, probably a lot of people gonna be mad. Let's start with the Rick Child case because I think this one is kind of more straightforward. Now, originally, before I heard the lawyer and seeing the closing arguments and everything like that, I was somebody who was really against Rick Child. I was one of the people like Charles White saying "fuck Asians." Off of "Don't Be a Menace," hurry up and buy. Remember that classic scene? Like, and I was starting to really believe that, like, dang, they probably really do look at us like that. And then I was just stuck on, which I still am to a certain degree, them chasing after the dude and him leaving and the whole, you didn't have to chase after him, which I still do agree, which most people still do agree that they shouldn't have chased after him. He didn't steal anything. The girl was watching. That's why I said like she was watching the whole time. So if he stuck something in the pocket, the wife would have seen it because she was literally 2 inches away from him. So I still think that that's wrong, and I still don't like that part of it. But when you hear the law, like the lawyer said, and you look it up, and you know there is states, especially in the South. You know this is South Carolina. We know how Texas is. You can't chase somebody after your property, even though he didn't have a property. That's the messed up part. But it's not illegal to technically chase somebody. Most people didn't know that because you just figured you always told them you shoot somebody in the back. If you initiate, if it's not no threat, you're supposed to stand down. And in some states it is. Like I'm in Michigan, you can't chase after nobody. California, especially, you can't do that. Super, liberals. But in this state, you can. So you the though the law is the law. You can only fight to change the law or get mad at the law. So but that I still think they shouldn't have chased after him, regardless for no water, because it could have avoided everything, and it's all about avoidance. But so that's why I was stuck with dang, this messed up. Rich Out should have went to prison because he should have never chased after him. And then the whole main point of it is, did he point the gun at his son or not? We'll never truly know. That's the messed up part because we know Cyrus is dead. So the only person word we can go on is Rick Child and his son. That's obviously gonna say what's more benefit to them because the shooting didn't get caught on camera. So we don't know if they made it up about the gun being pointed. Witnesses wasn't really consistent. I heard some witness say that he dropped it, then he went to go pick it up. But he never pointed it at him. A lot of witnesses did say that. Some say, because the arguments that when he picked it up, he kind of like grabbed it and kind of turned a little bit, looking like he was about to, shoot him. That's really the real gray area of the case to really not know. So overall, going from the lawyer, I can understand why he got off if we're going by the story. Like I said, if you break it down by the law, and if you're going by, okay, it's not illegal for him to chase him. He he looked like he was stealing water, which, like I said, the wife would have seen him steal, but okay. They chased after him. He did have a gun. The gun did fall. They're saying that this happened. We can't confirm if that happened or not. So it's like, I get it. It's a messed up case and a messed up situation. But just going from the facts of the case, I understand it if we're going by Rick Child word, which all kind of have to go by. But see, the main purpose of this and where the problem with Cyrus is that I have to admit that people said, which we're gonna get into with Carmelo Anthony, is for one, why at 14 is you carrying a loaded gun into a store, into places. Then, like they said, he didn't have no money to pay. So it looked like he was probably more than likely going to steal. I do believe that his intentions maybe was to steal, because another thing, normal people, just me, nobody ever pointed this out, but me just thinking from my logical mind of how people work. Most people not buying no 5, 6 waters at a time. Like if it's just you, like you probably buy 1 or 2 waters for yourself, but to buy 6 at a time and then you got to carry these waters. um was the part that was kind of fishy to me. No, I'm not saying that some people might be like, I go to the store and buy 5, 6 waters at a time. Usually people do that when they go grocery shop. You go into, like, when you go grocery shop, that's when you buy a bunch of water. When you just go into a corner store to the store, you usually just buy one drink. Like, I never went to the store unless I was getting it for other people with me and just bought 5, 6 pops or waters for myself at one time. But to each his own. So with that being said, is that it's just not a good look carrying the gun, because this is the thing. If he didn't have the gun on him and they chased him and this happened, Rick Child would have been in jail for life. He wouldn't have had no defense. But him for sure having the gun, it leaves that gray area of maybe he did point it at him. Maybe, like, because there was a gun there. So that's why it gets to a kind of gray area for real. And it's kind of messed up for real, but given on the fact, I can understand why he got off, because we have to take his story, and there wasn't enough evidence on the contrary. And like I said, with him having the gun, them saying that the gun did fall and he picked it up, so at one point the gun was in his hand, and then Anton Daniel did say, if you've seen him, the one thing that I do agree that he said is that they asked him to take, because it was looking like it was something in his hoodie, obviously. So they thinking like maybe slip of water or something in there, show it was in there, and he couldn't show the gun. So he had no choice but to leave and run, because he couldn't show, like, no, I'm not stealing, but I got a gun. So he did put himself into a bad predicament for real. And that's why I said that this could have been avoided. He put himself in a bad situation. I know he's 14. I was young before I got arrested for breaking into houses when I was 12 or 13, one or the other. And like that's why they say about the whole minor when we get into dating people, and that's why minors usually get less time. And we know that people that age, their brain is not fully developed, and they fully don't understand the magnitude of what they're doing. Like when I was breaking into them houses, I didn't fully understand the magnitude of what I was doing, and it could have went left. We could have broke into somebody's house and they was there and shot us or chased us or whatever. But when you're 14, you don't feel like right from wrong. Because I knew breaking into the house was wrong because we were sneaking and doing it, but we didn't understand the magnitude of this could go left in a consequence. Like you don't right from wrong, but you don't understand the full consequences at that age of your actions. So that's the only messed up part about this age, that I don't fully think he, knew what he was doing. I think this was in the hood. They said it's a bad neighborhood, so he got kind of put into a tough predicament to where just living that life and getting caught up. It's messed up. Like they didn't speak more about the parents. That's more so what I wanted to hear more about. Is like his parents. What type of parents did he have? A dad? Was this another single mother household? Probably could look that up real quick. 'Cause that's one thing I haven't heard is about like his parents and his background. Because the same once we get into Carmelo, like why is your son walking around with a gun? And then like I'm from the hood. I'm from Detroit, certified. Like But it's a different era too, to where kids don't fight. Like when I was younger, we never thought about carrying knives and guns like that, unless it was something like we was in a serious beat. Now, if you in a serious beat where it's on site, like, and you know that they got guns and stuff, yeah, but just out the ordinary carrying guns and stuff, no. And then like back in the day, we used to fight. The worst thing I was worried about when I was younger was getting jumped. I never worried about getting stabbed or shot ever. I was just worried about getting jumped by a gang or the rival neighborhood or something like that. But it's a different age for real. But trying to look up his parents. I forgot his last name. Nicole and Troy. They reside in South Carolina. Have been prominent advocate for. So his mom and dad might still be together. Yeah, it is an interview. I didn't think about this. I'm making this video in real time. So I should have watched this stuff about his parents. I mean, his parents look decent and look good, just like Carmelo parents do. But, like your kid shouldn't have been carrying no gun. I don't know what he was in, what neighborhood y'all in, or what. But, it's a messed up circumstance. That's all I can say with the Cyrus thing, because he was so young. And like I said, I've been at that age, and you don't fully understand like the extent of what you're doing for real. But I understand. Unfortunately, I was so against this case. I was so like injustice was being done until I found out that that's the law in South Carolina. Once they said that that's the law, just like Texas and them stand your ground states, like that's why with the whole George Zimmerman thing, a lot of people didn't like, but all you can do is say that, okay, we need to change this law. You shouldn't be running and chasing after people. But I am somebody, I'm not gonna lie. If you stealing my stuff, and I always say this, if I see somebody stealing my car, it's gonna be hard for me to just sit there and watch them steal it. Now, this is a bottle of water, so it is more like childish versus your car, but I can't totally say like I don't understand the you chasing after somebody because they stealing something. And then the law not gonna vary with like, okay, well, you can only chase after someone if what they're stealing is over $1,000, or like they can't, it's hard to put like certain stipulations on it like that. So, it's either you can or you can't. And I ain't gonna lie, I would lean more towards if somebody's stealing my stuff, I should be able to go after them. So it's unfortunate about the Rick Child case, but going by the book, I can kind of understand why he got off. Now he didn't win because he been financially harmed. He had to sell or he can't work there no more. That's why I say even when you lose, even when you win, you lose sometimes. And that's where I feel like he really lost that is that all of the money, because talking to the lawyer, when Anton Dell talked to the lawyer, he couldn't say the number, but he basically was hinting that this was almost $1 million case that he didn't spend. He almost had to spend $1 million on this case. And ain't no telling he probably had to sell his store to get the money, and then he gonna forever be looked at, viewed that negative. Then there's the civil lawsuit he might lose because civil is different than criminal. Civil they might find it because it's more likely than not. So he could get raped financially even more. So he like all the people that's so mad about it. He didn't fully win. And that could be the injustice because he will found out guilty. And if what he said happened, it is kind of messed up. He been financially ruined from this. And that's why my main point is that that's why even the law say that you can chase them, you still shouldn't chase after people because you could put yourself in this predicament. Next, the Carmelo situation. So initially with Carmelo, I actually viewed it different. I thought he was wrong from the beginning. I thought he was going to be found guilty from the beginning because everything that I heard, nothing pointed to self-defense or it being justified. That's why I never understood. Now, after the case over and went through, it's still nothing else has came out to justify what he did. I really don't understand black people. Yeah, and this is what I always say, and this is what makes people mad is that I don't know why in the black community we get behind the wrong causes and we support the wrong people. That's one of the number one reasons why the black community is at the bottom and we can't prosper. The people that we should be fighting for, we don't fight for. The people that we should be making rich and famous, we don't. We make the Sexy Reds and all of these, dumb rappers that get rich and don't do nothing for the black community. They just buy jewelry and they just fuck off the money. And I always said this is whenever people say, you can't tell nobody what to do with your money, with their money. I always said, yes, you can when you the one that gave them the money. It's just like if I gave you, if you asked me for some money and I gave you $20, best believe I can give my opinion on what you should do with that $20. And then it's the same for it's the same for these rappers and stuff because y'all the ones making them famous, but y'all don't want to put no expectations on them. So if y'all okay with spending y'all hard-earned money that y'all go work 9 to 5s and work y'all ass for just to give it to a rapper to buy jewelry and to trick off and do all of that, that's on you. But don't complain about the black community at the bottom because it do take leaders since the beginning of the time. It takes somebody to put other black people on. Everybody can't get on. That's why the smart thing to do would be to get leaders or anoint people that's qualified, put the money in the resources in their pocket and let them build businesses or do certain stuff to help the black community. But we don't do that. We make the most dumbest people, rich and famous for whatever reason, and we support the worst people. No, I feel for Carmelo because it's the same as the Rick Child situation to where he's young. I know all the stuff about him, having a good GPA, being a good student besides this, not really getting in trouble. Um, and I believe that maybe this was isolated incident. He could have changed this way around, but it kind of just is what it is because for when he's 17, not 14. Now, when we talk about 17, we get into like senior in high school. We get into where you almost an adult. At 18, you can go to the military and do a lot of stuff. It's debated on if your frontal lobe and all of that is developed, but 17, 18, you definitely more so than a 14-year-old know right from wrong and know that you can't bring a weapon to school because that's where a lot of people are stuck on the case. And that's where I was kind of stuck at. Why? And I know it probably, I don't think it was school. I think it was like a track meet or something to do with school. Like maybe like I said, a track meet, practice. Because I think he was on the track team or his friend was. I can't exactly remember, but we know the boys was on the football team and ran track or whatever. So it basically was a school event. Let's just say that. And you don't bring a weapon with you on school grounds. Some people argue it's not illegal to carry a weapon, especially in Texas. We know it's the Wild Wild West. But a 17-year-old carrying a weapon we know it don't look good. And the only defense that he had, and this is the part to where I don't know if his defense did a good enough job doing. People always calling you when you making a video is crazy. And I was cooking. So, where was I? Oh, I was talking about the defense only hope was to try to paint the picture of him having a knife is that he been getting bullied. He been getting harassed and he was carrying it basically for safety because he was scared that something was gonna happen to him. And I did look it up, and that is something they tried to push. They tried to say that his phone was broke, he would jump before, and things like that. But I don't know if they actually had like proof and evidence of that. But regardless, they said that the judge still threw it out and still, um, the law claims that you can't use past incidents to dictate, what currently happened because they said he never met Metcalf. They were from different schools, so he can hold that prejudice against him, which I don't think is true. I think it still doesn't justify it because let's say that somebody kind of like this will happen all the time. Maybe just kind of like the Rick Child situation to where let's say that I got a store, my store been getting robbed numerous of times. So now I'm on edge. Now I'm carrying a gun. And now naturally the next person who come in, I think trying to rob me, I'm gonna be quicker to shoot or quicker to pull out my gun because of the trauma from the past. That is a real thing. Now, if it's tricky if that's enough to really get you off, though. That's the whole thing. And I guess they found out that it wasn't, because the main reason was getting into another popular case that's going to come up is with Chubb the Builder. And I wonder with Myron Gaines and a lot of other people who on the white side is going to say when this case comes up, because it's very similar with Chubb the Builder. He was going around harassing black people, ran into a black person. He said something to him. I don't think he said nothing racial, but the person knew who he was. So the person wasn't trying to talk to him like, I already know you racist. So I think Chubb might have said something to him. The guy pursued him and followed him. He said, say that racial stuff that you be saying online to me or something in that nature. And Chubb said something, and the dude punched him in the face. And after he punched him in the face, Chubb, he pulled out a gun and shot him a couple times. So in that case, it really kind of a combination of the Rick Child case and the Carmelo Anthony case, because we got the whole pursuit. Because I know Myra Gaines and some people were saying that the fact that the dude ran up on him and followed him, he was the aggressor and the initiator. So that should go into Chubb favor. But in this case, the same thing with the whole Rick Child chasing people. You see, depending on the law, you might be able to pursue people and I get it. When you think about it, it's not illegal just to run after somebody. Like that within itself is not illegal, chasing somebody. Like that's kind of normal stuff. I guess what happens after the chase and all of that is what really matters. Because now that I've been thinking about it, chasing after somebody really not against the law. Like you never heard of somebody saying, I was arrested because I chased somebody. Like, it's usually what your intent was, or what happens after that is when, the law comes in. So I can kind of get that. But in that situation, like academics was arguing with him, making a good point is that, Chubb is a bitch because he punched you. You supposed to punch him back or fight. Like, like they say, why is it you get punched and then you want to go automatically and jump to, using deadly force. And that's why a lot of people feel that way about that case. The same for Carmelo Anthony case. So hopefully it's held to the same standard. Like I said, I don't remember what state that case happened in, but yeah, it should be kind of the same thing, which some people know you're not supposed to escalate to deadly force. And that's the part that kind of got Carmelo, which I agree, being a kid, even 17, I get that Carmelo is a small guy, like they said. I was 6 feet in high school. I was skinny though, but I was on the taller, lankier side, so I wasn't, I guess, really get tried like this. I know there is a thing that sometimes short people have that Napoleon complex, to where even if they're not getting bullied, they feel like they're an easy target because they're short. So they automatically want to, do stuff and initiate things. So, that's always a factor when we talking to short people or whatever. So it might have been something like that. And like I said, I don't know if it is true that he been bullying before. I can kind of get it, but you have to know, like I said before, you can't bring a weapon to school. Even I knew that. Like I said, it's a different era now to where kids bring weapons to school, and will not bring weapons because that's still not common. But like kids don't fight like they used to. Like I said earlier, my biggest fear was getting jumped, not getting shot or stabbed. But we know this been going on for years. It's rarely fights anymore. It's always shooting, weapons being used because kids scared to fight, and that's leads to situations like this. Because given the story, talking to the witnesses didn't fare good for Carmelo Anthony. They said he wasn't cornered. They asked him to leave. That's enough time that they asked him to leave numerous times, and he was basically being disobedient. I don't have to leave. Whatever, like F you type of stuff, which we know causing confrontation because everybody admitted that that wasn't his tent. He wasn't supposed to be there. Now, if it's raining, I would feel like I'm not about to go back out in the rain and you or whatever like that, just because it's your tent, like this is public or whatever. But I don't know if there was another tent he was supposed to be at, or if he had to walk home. I'm not sure about that part, but it's unfortunate now on the Metcalf situation, which they could have did, because we always talk about doing the best thing, is that they could have went to go get a dog. If a kid not leaving, just like with an employee or even a customer, let's say you working and I get that these kids, so they don't think as logically, but like I said, they down there seniors were juniors or seniors. Um, if a kid not leaving, you supposed to go get your coach or adult and tell them like, hey, this kid is over here where you're not supposed to be. Tell him to leave instead of taking stuff into your own hands. That's the only part that Metcalf messed up, and the part that I see on their side where they messed up, and that's the problem is that y'all tried to be kind of bullies or take stuff into their own hands. Like y'all not the captain of that tent. Y'all don't own it. Like like it's not really their job, or they don't really have the authority to tell somebody to leave. I get it, because if I'm on a football team, let's say the rival team or somebody I don't know is over on our side, I would tell them to leave too. But it's not my job to try to physically escort them, because you asked for a fight. That's what I'm saying. People have to know when stuff is going to escalate. Certain stuff is going to escalate based on what you're going to do. And that's why I said that they wrong, but then Carmelo is wrong because he knew you're not supposed to be there. They asked him to leave. You being disobedient, not wanting to leave. Like, F you, I don't have to leave. It's a free country. You could say that, but like I said, you inviting confrontation instead of just walking away and just leaving. And then, like they said, it does seem kind of premeditated, telling them to bag up. I got something, and then them shoving you. They didn't even say he punched him. Now, if they was jumping him, let's say both of the twin brothers were jumping him, he pull out a knife and stabbed them, he would have had more case. Or even if he was getting beat up, because it's all about your life and harm. Somebody pushing you, it's not enough to say that your life was in harm, that you was about to die when they have a weapon. Because the most you would have just got beat up, you probably wasn't gonna die. So that's why he kind of lost the case, and I kind of understand it. And then on the flip side, I'm not gonna lie, him getting 35 years, I do think it was actually all around fair, because I thought he could have got life. They could have really, because he didn't get manslaughter. He got, I believe, first degree to murder. So he could have got life or, way more years than that. The judge, or I don't know if it was the jury, was way more lenient because he still got a chance to get out. Like they said, he could get out in 17 and a half years. They gave him parole to where he'll be actually around my age, like 35. That's kind of a win for real. Versus they could have really threw the book him. That's what I'm saying. Like people saying that's unjust. If they really wanted to cook him and really wanted to be racist, they could have gave him the whole 99 years. I think that he could have got anywhere they said from 0 to 99. They could have just gave him the whole 99 or at least 80 to a point where they know he probably not gonna make it out. They gave him a chance to where even if he do the whole 35, would he be like 40s, 50? He's 17, or he probably like 18, 9. So yeah, he'll be like in his 50s. I know he didn't miss the majority of his life, but he still will see the light of day again. His parents might not be around. Like I said, it's an unfortunate situation, altogether for real. I really do, nobody won for real. And then of course there have been mixed things about his parents and them using the money, if they good parents or not, and everything like that. The only thing I'll say about them spending the money, I do know it's caveat to everything. So I can't really speak on it because on one hand, I know everybody was talking about they bought a new Escalade, a mansion, and been balling out. But then on another hand, I have heard them say they've been getting death threats, which I'm pretty sure they have. Both sides been getting death threats. So they had to continuously move. But I know, okay, just because you have to move, I mean you have to get a mansion. But I do also understand is that they did have money. It's not like his parents was broke. Remember, this happened in a white neighborhood. He lived in a good neighborhood. I think his dad is like a car salesman that sell forgot the name brand of car, but sell like high priced cars. Forgot what they said his mom do. So it's not like they was a broke family, like they didn't have money. Like they had money before this. That's why he was going to a good school and everything. They might not have this much money because you could have money. Having money could be making 6 figures a year. Let's say combined the household is 180K. That's still great. Above middle class, but that's different than having 600,000 or 800,000, however much they got for this case at one time. That's way different. But then I think the dad did say he lost his job because people was coming up to his job. So, if you're not working now, they need money for bills. I can see both sides of it. I'm not one of the people like, oh, y'all just blew y'all son money. If it is true that they did have to move, I'm pretty sure that they did spend some money on the defense and things like that. I do think too, this is another thing people have been saying, is that they might have knew, of course you could never say that, or lawyers might have told them that, yeah, he probably not gonna get off on this. And a lot of people, even the people who who feel like it's injustice, still feel like he just should have got left less time. There's only a few people, the super ignorant people who think he should have got off completely. The more so I didn't heard is that he should only got like 10 years or 10 to 15 years, or something like that. And then it should have been manslaughter and everything like that. But everybody agrees he got more time. But I'm like, 35 years parole after 17 is not that bad, considering all the facts. You still got to remember is that, he killed somebody, his family won't, just because if it was 10, 15 years, they have to take that into consideration too. And that's why the main problem with a lot of people, why we have so many problems in society, is that people can't put themselves in other people's shoes. That's the biggest thing, is that even if you do like Carmelo and feel like he got done wrong, you still have to understand is that a kid lost his life not coming back. A parent lost his son. Like, that's still messed up. It still have to be justice for that too. So, and like I said, 17 and a half years parole. So people who think he should have did 10 to 15, he might be able to get out in 17. So it's still right around what y'all said anyway. The disservice, like I said, if they would have gave him life or the death penalty, then it would have been something. But to me, I mean, the case really, really justified. And then getting back to his parents, is that his parents might have knew he was gonna get some time. So it's messed up, but you got to think, why blow all of this money on a lawyer if I'm gonna go to jail anyway? A lot of smart people think like that anyway, and I would feel like that too. Like, everybody, like, get the best lawyer, get the best lawyer, but people need to, and I'm gonna end it with this because this is another video I wanted to make. Like, people need to start acting like a good lawyer is God. Like just because you got a good lawyer, you just gonna get off scot free. Like, you can't beat direct evidence. I don't care how good a lawyer you is. If you on camera shooting somebody in the head broad daylight, you could get the best lawyer in the world. They're not going to get you, the case throughout and you walk home free. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, y'all, like, evidence is still evidence. The best the lawyer can do is get you the most minimum time as possible. And I know a lot of people feel like, oh, well, would that happen? But I'm like, 35 years, for something that it wasn't even manslaughter, it was first degree. So I'm like, that's really, not out the realm, not that terrible for real. Like, I don't really know what a lawyer would have really gave him. I don't see a lawyer getting them down to 10 years or 15 years like that. I just don't see no lawyer being able to do that. And they probably felt that way. So, like, let's use this money. I think they got 3 other kids too, which is crazy. Lost their job, getting death threats, like, let's put this money into, stuff that actually matter. It is kind of smart, like, you know, in a way, because like I said, you have to think about it. If you know you're gonna go to jail, why waste all of the money too? And then now I know they got an appeal coming up, which everybody appeals everything. I doubt that he gets, win the appeal. Most appeals don't go through. It has to really be something wrong for an appeal to go through. And I know, lastly, a lot of people was mad about the all black jury. Like they already said, it's a jury of your peers, and he live in a white neighborhood. So that's the disadvantages to living to a white neighborhood, is that all your peers might be white. I mean, it just is what it is. To me, it's still better than alternative. Now people say, oh, this is why all black people need to live in the hood and around black people. Fuck that. Like, this is a isolated circumstance he shouldn't have got himself into, but he's still doing better off than if he was in a black neighborhood, just on overall quality of the school, of the schooling. Because, like, I know he was getting good grades, probably wouldn't have got that in a black school. It's way more stuff you have to worry about. Cars getting broken into, ignorance, all the stuff that goes. It's the hood for a reason. And then, especially with his parents doing good, it's hard to tell somebody just because you black to live around poor people. Like, and then we do need more black neighborhoods. And then, like somebody said, we need more black lawyers and judges, congressmen and senate. Them the only ones that can change the laws. And people need to stop being rappers. I've been said this before. Every nigga, every black person want to be an athlete or a rapper instead of a lawyer or a doctor, stuff that actually change people's lives for real. Like, yes, you make good money and you popularize, you get all of the bitches and the money, but you're not impacting nothing. And then you got to turn around and hire these same people. Think about that. Like, yeah, you an athlete, yeah, you famous, you may be LeBron, Steph, or Westbrook, whoever, but you got to turn around and hire a lawyer when you get in trouble. You have to go see a doctor, and they telling you and influencing your life. they controlling your life for real. So even though it's not as a prestigious job, even though being a lawyer or doctor is still, being a lawyer or doctor is still gonna always have, be a lawyer or a doctor. It's still gonna be what it is, but it's not as um, eye candy as being an athlete or a rapper because you're famous in that instance. But in terms of affecting things and affecting people's lives, yeah, a lawyer or a doctor. It's but more so, more kids need to be for real, especially black people. Like we get mad and hate the system, but y'all ain't doing nothing to change the system. And I'm out.